forth. They have spread to Eastern Europe, and now over 460 million people call themselves European. From the original 6 in 1973, the UK, Ireland and Denmark joined, and then Greece followed in 1981. Portugal and Spain were admitted in 1986, after which Austria, Finland and Sweden were added in 1986. The largest group of 10 nations, mainly from the old Russian satellites, entered in 2004. And this year they were followed by Bulgaria and Romania. Europe is now 2/3 the size of continental USA. Consider for a moment how Europe compares with the United States. You'll be surprised to see how this growing conglomerate already surpasses the world's biggest superpower in several ways. Let us firstly look at population. The United States has just passed the 300 million mark, but the European Union already has 460 million. What about gross domestic product? The United States was recently overtaken by Europe for the first time. In 2006, the American GDP was $12.41 trillion, while the Europeans achieved $12.91 trillion, $500 billion more. What about the number of workers? Well, there are 151 million workers in the United States labor force, while the European Union has 218 million. When it comes to oil consumption, the United States consumes 20 million barrels per day, and the Europeans, with a greater population, just 14.5 million barrels per day. Surely you would think that the United States exports more than Europe. Well, the United States exported $1 trillion worth of goods in 2006, and the European Union, 1.32 trillion. The gap between the superpowers is set to widen in Europe's favor. So, all in all, the EU is overtaking the United States. Europe does have many different languages, unlike the United States with just one. America is still a greater military power than Europe, and Great Britain, though a part of Europe, maintains strong military ties with the United States. Many religious people are beginning to recognize a possible link between Europe and the prophesied beast power spoken of in Revelation chapters 17 and 18. Notice here in Revelation chapter 17, turn to Revelation chapter 17, and here in verse 3. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. And on her forehead a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. The name Europe is derived from the Greek goddess Europa. And according to Greek mythology, a Phoenician woman was seduced by the god Zeus in the form of a bull and was carried by him to Crete. Though this bull, also known as Taurus, was her lover, she really had power over him. All of Europe looks to this story for the origin of their continent. Europa is dear to many of them and their psyche. Notice this Greek 2 euro coin depicting Europa riding on Zeus's back. Who is the modern-day Europa? Some people believe she may be identified by the modern spirit of religious revival that is taking place there. They can see that ancient Greece and Rome will be once again able to assert themselves as the cultural and religious leaders in the world. Let us return to Revelation chapter 17, and in verse 9, the 7 heads are 7 mountains, that is, governments or kingdoms upon which the woman sits. In the past, 6 of these kingdoms have come and gone, and the 7th, that is the last, is about to appear. Since all previous kings have arisen in Europe, we would expect the last to arise there also. In this scenario, the woman has power over the decisions of the civil rulers of Europe. She does not have an army or a police force. She does not make the laws and enforce them. That's the domain of the civil authorities, but she can and will influence and cause them to do what she wants. We do not yet know who the last king will be, but both the infrastructure and the laws have been established little by little over the last 50 years. It is as if an architect drew up the plans, the builders built the building, and the decorators furnished the inside. And all we're waiting for is the arrival of the man who will take up residence. Here at Tomorrow's World, Roderick Meredith and Richard Ames continue to proclaim the same message they learned from Herbert Armstrong in the 1950s. Mr. Meredith was ordained an evangelist by Mr. Armstrong in 1952. Let me quote to you an article in the October 1962 Plain Truth magazine where Herbert Armstrong wrote the following on page 23. This sensational prophecy of Revelation 17 reveals the presently emerging United States of Europe. The beast, he described, is the united Europe now reforming that will resurrect the Holy Roman Empire. This beast, the Holy Roman Empire, is once again to come to life. The people of the world will be aghast in wonder when they actually do behold this ancient empire resurrected to political and military life. The subtle and clever transformation without people's knowledge is something new. In contrast, countries like the United States, Australia, Canada and South Africa achieved federation differently. In each case, there was consultation, transparency and public knowledge of what was happening. The people knew what the plan was. But now we see a union in Europe being brought about by bureaucrats and Eurocrats without the people knowing where it will end. When you order your free copy of this informative booklet, The Beast of Revelation, you will be able to turn to the center pages and study a well-constructed chart that reveals the historic steps that brought us to present-day events. Under the first heading is the statue of Daniel 2. Next comes the four beasts of Daniel 7. Then we have the beast of Revelation 13, followed by the harlot riding the scarlet beast. The next two columns give us the symbolic meaning and their historical fulfillment. The key verse for us to remember is in Revelation chapter 17, verse 10.